I'm Darrin Cook, aka Raymonde Crow. Tonight I'd like to recommend a book. The book is Sharp by Eric Richardson. What it is, it's almost encyclopedic treatment of the card stab effect. Basically, you've got a deck of cards, and you're going to find a spectator's card using a knife. Now, on here, the book it's a very informative book. I mean, the guy goes into the history of the effect. He tells like Devant, I never knew about him, Bert Allerton, Eugene Berger, Mike Close. He treats all these magic greats and the way that they handled the plot, different ideas, different ways that they handled it. Now, this is a color changing knives video, or color changing knives forum. What's this have to do with that? Well, if you look at Lou Scanson's routine manipulation 2, guy has a color changing knife routine in there, and he says on a previous effect he uses a pocket knife, one that's part of his color changing knives set, to open up an envelope for, say, like a billet, or I forget if it's built to envelope. But in a previous magic effect, he uses the one of the set of a color changing knife, open the envelope, sets it aside. Now later he's going to come back to that knife and go into a color changing knives effect. So you think about it here. If you did the card stab using one of the knives from your color changing knife set, you can now go, and sometimes people go, well, how do I bring the knife? Oh, hey, did anybody lose a knife? Kind of uncertain, how do I bring it into play? Well, if you use the knife for a card stab, set it down, put it aside, then you could come back to it, do the color changing knives with it. I think it's also a good idea. People wonder, and I've often had that, how do I come up with the show? How do I come up with a routine, even if it's just a set of 3 tricks at a table? How do I come up with something that seems like it's a coherent whole, and not just like, okay, this is trick number 2, now I'm going to go into trick 3, and when we get to trick 7, I'll be done. Instead of just a bunch of different effects, how do we make it flow like it's a show, right? An organic that's building to something. Well, notice if you did a card stab and then you use that same knife, you could do a cut and a restored ribbon, cut and restored rope. You could use it for color changing knives. Right there, those 3 effects. You have a knife that serves as a common thread through all of those. So I'm going to include a link to this book here, and it's available from Vanishing Ink Magic. I recommend it very highly. It's a great book. I mean, I may never even do a card stab, but I love the book. It's very informative. It just gets you thinking. And the last thing I'll say here, if you are thinking about doing a card stab, before you go and buy somebody's effect, the beauty of this is that the guy shows you all the different ways that effect can be done. On a table, wrapped up in a napkin, using a newspaper, impromptu. He has you throw in the air. There are all kinds of different ideas. So it gives you an idea of, okay, that's what I want to do, or that's what, I think that could really help you before you plunk down a whole bunch of money buying an effect. Sharp, recommended really highly. See if you can include it in your color changing knives. Thanks.